Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are. So here we are back again in sunny California and rather warmish California. Yesterday here it touched 100 degrees. So that's pretty hot. I'm glad that today it's not like that. But I'm also incredibly happy that today is my daughter Isabella's birthday. So I wanted to give a big shout out to her, a big hug and a kiss to her. And big blessing from all of you to her on her birthday today. And happy birthday, Bella. We love you very much. And so that's that. We hope to celebrate. We kind of started celebrating last night. My dear friend Shabi Farooq and his wife Avni cooked up a storm in their home and dropped off the food for us. So we had a very strong and lovely and tasty biryani session with bagari baigan and shrimps, and it was great. Well, what that means is that I'm a little anchored heavy today. But here I am, here we are. There was a question asked a couple of days ago and I just wanted to touch on it. And this has been frequently asked and I've answered it in many different ways, and let's see if there's a different take on it today. So this is about chilla. So the question was, can you please talk about chilla and how do you prepare to do a chilla? Well, first of all, the word chilla. Tony, she was looking through various Googles and things and everything about chilla, and she came across one explanation, and that was that it's a Indo-Persian word, Indian Persian combo. It's that word, the original word is chehel, which actually means 40, number 40, chehel. So the mystics and the Sufis of the old times in India and in Persia and so on, they would retreat into what they call the Chehel Khana, meaning a room that was called a Chehel Khana, in solitary confinement. And for 40 days, they would meditate and reflect on whatever it is that was inside of them that needed to be answered, and found a way through. So that's what they did. So Chehel, in a Chehel Khana. The word in India became from Chehel into Chilla somehow. There is another Urdu word called Chehel, which is used to describe the hustle and bustle of a party or a gathering or a market or something. So they use something called Chehel Pehel, which meant, oh, there was big Chehel Pehel in that party. So big hustle and bustle, big fun going on. So that's Chehel, utilized in India in that manner. But Chilla may have been a hybrid of Chalis, and which means 40. So what happens is that a musician retreats into a Chilla Khana, which is again a room, for 40 days, surviving on pretty much liquids and like water and maybe vegetables, and shying away from eating meat and stuff, and in solitary confinement, focusing on whatever was a question in his or her mind vis-a-vis the playing is concerned. So suppose if I was considering that I've gotten to a certain point with a particular qaida or a particular phrase or a particular pattern, where do I go next? And if I'm running into some kind of a wall, some kind of a, oh, I can't see my way through, so I would think about retreating into a solitary room, the Chilla Khana, and be there and focus on that particular piece of rhythm or music, and see what kind of world opens up for me in there. So for 40 days, nothing, no outside contact, and you do that. So the first time I went, I was 16 years old, wasn't quite sure what I was looking for. I mean, I was already like somewhat of a young darling of the crowd at that time. I would play concerts and people would think, oh, he's such a cute and can play well and so on. So I guess I wasn't at a point where I had reached a wall or a hurdle, but I felt excited about wanting to do something like this. So, and maybe I just wanted to get away from the family and just be on my own and do this retreat. So I went and did that. But I focused on not one particular problem, because for me, at that point in my life, there was really no problem. I mean, I was just having fun, enjoying playing. So I just would practice and I would start playing as if I'm playing in a concert. So I would start with an opening peshkar and go on to a qaida and another qaida and another qaida, and then some chand-based stuff and rows and relas and compositions. There was one instance where it happened where I suddenly got stuck with a particular composition, and I don't know why. I just felt that I wanted to keep trying to play that and go forward with it. And went on doing it for hours and a few days until there was a vision, and that changed things for me. That's another story. But Chilla basically means that. So you decide on, okay, there is this particular, like some people lots of people have problem with dhira dhira. So say, okay, I know I'm going to work on my dhira dhira and go into the chilla, focusing mainly on that. It is good to get your teacher's permission, guru's permission, and usually what happens is that the guru gives you in. I didn't have this the first time around, and I kind of just adopted a particular one for my second chilla, but a mantra or some kind of a prayer that you do, and before you begin, and every now and then when you stop for a moment, you go back to that prayer and you do that. So from your guru you get that, you focus on a particular phrase or a pattern or a qaida or a rela, and you work your way through that, and until it becomes second nature to you, until your hands just naturally flow in that particular composition at any given pace. And so that's how you get there. So chilla in a nutshell is that. Now for us, when we were learning and practicing, we had a guessing game that we played, and the guessing game was how fast a particular tabla player played, a particular rela or a composition or something. And that was a guessing game because you just kind of imagine in your head, or it's probably this fast. Half the time I found out that when I got back to hearing the maestro again and trying to play along with, I found that I had not yet gotten to that point. So I guess that is one bar that you should set for yourself when you get to a particular composition on a hurdle. That, but in today's day, it's easier. You've got an iPhone or a phone that can give you the BPM, meaning beats per minute or tempo, at which a particular composition or a qaida is played and sounds the best. And you could try and get your way up to that level without disturbing the balance of the two hands and the clarity that must be adhered to. Once you do that in your chilla, you will realize that you're starting to get a flow and moving on. So chilla, you prepare for in this particular manner. Try to be a vegetarian, not eat too much because you're sitting down a lot. The more you eat, like I did last night, and you get heavy. So less eating, drink a lot of water, and in this day and age you can also have those vitamin drinks and all that you have available to you, and work your way through the chilla of 40 days. For me nowadays, I feel that the chilla may not be as necessary. In the old days, we did not have the information as easily available to us as it is now. So we had to fend for ourselves. So we retreated and we focused on it until we discovered our way of doing things comfortably, and that sort of stood as the answer. But this day and age, you have videos, you have YouTube, Facebook, wherever else you can go, CDs, all that available to you. You can listen and you can decipher. You can take an app called AnyTune Pro on your iPhone and import the music into that and play it at any speed you want, so that you can actually clearly hear how the phrases work together. So that is chilla. I started with a qaida that was long time ago, which my father touched on, but we did not develop it much because we all got into that one, and so this was like a step brother qaida. So I suddenly remember this qaida as I was setting up here, so I just kind of started to play that. So that's one of the questions. Now we have to see if there's any other question. But before any other question, I'm going to play that qaida that we got into very much, which was the way I'm playing it, now it should be I mean, I guess that's actually the phrase as in a tihai. So, but Abbaji decided to play it in a more melodic manner and keep the bowls closer to the siyahi and not open. And so he played it a couple of ways, or seems to be the one that I usually gravitate to. That's the original qaida that we learned, and then Abbaji came up with the I see that there are possibilities in it. I have forgotten it, so now that I remember it, I'm gonna see if I can find my way through it. Maybe do like a mini mind chill on it, like just sit at home and think about it. So is there any other question?
Rupak Tal tutorial.
Rupak Tal tutorial? Is there such a thing? Rupak Tal tutorial? Boy, I must have missed it. Okay, Rupak Tal. So in South India is 6 beats, Rupakam, and in North India, of course, it's 7 beats. So Rupak Tal is interesting to me because it's a small tal, and therefore the kind of limits that one must put on oneself in terms of Bhari and Khali are kind of restrictive because of its length. So now a lot of people get around it by starting to playing Rupak Tal slow. I did that too. At one time I would start din, din, na, din, na, then at that tempo and or even slower and work my way through. So it allowed me a bigger canvas. Then I started to think about it and a little bit more, and I realized that in my head that if I'm going to play Rupak Tal that slow at that tempo, then I might as well play Dhamar 14 beats, because in a sense the character of the Rupak Tal is din, din, na, din, na, din, na. It arrives, it bubbles, it lives at a particular tempo, and so that's a recent take that I've had on Rupak Tal. So when you get at that tempo where it lives and therefore is separate from Jhumra or Dhamar or Punjabi Dhamar and so on, then the Bhari and Khali becomes so small. Din, din, na, din, na, din, na. Da, dit, da, da, dit, da, dit, da, da, dit, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. So it's a short taki, taka, din, taki, taka, dimi, taki. So taki, taka, dimi. That much is all you have in terms of Bhari, and the other half is the Khali. So how do you create variations in that kind of situation? So din, din, na, din, na, din, na, dhatrikrit, dhete, dhati, daga, din, na, din, na, dhatrikrit, just making up dhati, daga, din, na, dhatrikrit, dhete, dhati, daga, din, na, din, na, that's all you've got. Now, a lot of people do dhatrikrit, dhete, katrikrit, dhete, dhati, daga, din, na, din, na, dhati, daga, din, na, din, na, ta. So that's a longer thing, but then it takes up that many cycles. So when it does that, it obviously is harking to a longer rhythm cycle, like maybe Dhamar or something. So that's my hesitancy lately in being able to play Rupak in that manner. So if one Bhari and one Khali, so that's 14 beats. So how do you account for that? It's the same thing that when you're playing with a sitar player or a sarod player or somebody, and they're playing a gat which is 2 cycles long in Rupak Tal. So that's 14 beats. So you're in effect playing 14, you're not playing 7. So that's another question, another discussion for another time. So the challenge, however, is exciting to be able to play at that tempo. So dha tit dha tit dha tit dha da tit dha ge na tin na ge na ta tit ta ta tit dha ge na din na ge na dha tit dha da tit dha ge na tin na ge ta tit ta ta tit dha ge na din na dha tit ta da tit dha ge na tin na ge na ta tit ta da tit dha ge na din na ge na dha tit ta da tit dha ge na tin na ge na ta tit ta da tit dha ge na tin na ge na dha tit ta tit dha tit dha ge tin na ge na dha tit So you're doing Bhari and Khali and you're doing your variations in that one cycle in Bhari and Khali. That's a challenge you should give yourself in order to develop working in Rupak Tal. It's easier in Relas, easier in Ro. Compositions are sort of immune to this, bandishes, because those are long bandishes anyway, no matter which rhythm cycle. But I'm just wondering in terms of Bhari and Khali and Qaidas, Peshkars could be easy, easily developed in Teen Tal, using the Rupak Tal using the Teen Tal map, right? So now that's long, and you get to Khali, that's 2 cycles. So that's what I was trying to say. Something that somehow skirts the idea of making it into a longer rhythm cycle and giving yourself the challenge of playing 7 as a 7. At this tempo, maybe it's a little fast, but you know, like at that kind of tempo, you may be able to play Qaidas, which are 7 beats long, and work in the fast thing, like a no, that's long. So becomes difficult. I mean, in my kind of thinking, so the restrictions are strong. So only short things that fit in Bhari Khali in one cycle will be the one to do it. So It's hard, it's difficult not to get into the longer versions because that's the way we've been brought up. But it's a challenge that I'm considering looking at and trying to figure out if there's a way to play it in this. In the meantime, every time we play a rhythm cycle which is different than teen tal, which is an even cycle, whether it's rupak tal or mat tal or jhap tal or anything, the whole idea is to break it up into fours. So whenever you come with a composition or a qaida, look at that. So tin, tin, na, din, na, din, na. Tataka dit, kataka dit, tati daga tin again, tati daga tin again, tataka dit, kataka dit, tati daga tin again, tati daga tin again. What you've got is two. 1 and 2. Bhari and Khali. So if you were to make it shorter, like for instance, raw like qaida, like I was just playing. Three. Tatita katina again, Tatita katina again, 1, Tatita katina again, 2, Tatita katina again, 3, Tatita katina again, 4, Tatita katina again, 1, Tatita katina again, 4, 3, Tatita katina again, 1, Tatita again, tum ta 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 di da te te da te te da te te da te te da te te. So I did one rhythm ensemble in Rupak long time ago, and I found it that it was easy to set it up at a fast Rupak in a teen tal fashion and learn my Rupak swing in that. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? Now this is in 8, but if you were to do 7, 1. So thinking about 7 is in that manner is workable. Thinking about 7, as I was describing to you, 4 is workable, like tin, tin, na, din, na, din, na, tin, tin, na, din, na, din, na, tin, tin, na, din, na, din, na, tin, tin, 2 in 1 7. Tin, tin, na, din, na, din, na. Tin tin na din na din na tin tin na din na din na tin tin na din na din tin tin na din na din tin tin na din na din na 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 tin tin na din na din na. So that's where I arrived when I did this little Geetan thing. But that's one of the way to do things, is to look at it that way. Now Qaidas, if you're playing a Qaida in Rupak Tal, you can easily do the double. What I mean by double is dha tirikit takatirikit dha tirikit takatirikit dhati dagar tenna kena dhati dagar tenna kena dha tirikit takatirikit dhati takatirikit dhati dagar tenna kena dhati dagar tenna Dadri dhati dagar tenna kena dhati dagar tenna kena dadri dhati dagar tenna kena dhati dagar tenna kena dadri dhati dagar tenna kena dagar tenna kena dadri dhati dagar tenna kena dhati dagar tenna kena dadri dhati dagar tenna kena dhati dagar tenna dadri dhati dagar tenna kena dhati dagar tenna dadri dhati dagar tenna kena dhati dagar tenna kena dhati dagar tenna kena dhati dagar tenna kena. You've doubled it. So you've broken the qaida because it's an even number. Well, not quite even number, because it's easily breakable. So 2 and 2. So now you made it 4 and 4. So when you make it 4 and 4, you've doubled easily. So at least that you can do without even thinking about it in a particular rhythm cycle. Any rhythm cycle, this works. Any rhythm cycle, this will work for you. So keep that in mind. If it's Japtal, it's the same way. If it's Teen Tal, it's the same way. If it's Ek Tal, it's the same way. Whatever the qaida is, you can break it. What was interesting about Abbaji, my father, was that he broke away from the norm of even divisions of a qaida and created an uneven division type qaidas. Like dha tete dha tete dha gatina dha dha tete dha tete dha gatina gina dha tete dha tete dha gatina dha dha tete dha tete dha gatina gina is straightforward. Tin tin na din na din na da tete da da tete da tete da da tete da da tete da tete again da tete da da tete da tete da da tete da da tete da tete da tete da da tete da tete da tete da da tete da tete da da tete da da tete da tete again da da tete da da tete da tete again da da tete da tete da tete da tete da tete da da tete da tete da tete again da tete da tete da tete again da. So he doubled it. And if you come to doing tripling it, 3-1. In Delhi, some people used to call it Dora Tera. So if you do triple, then you have to adjust because it's not even on both sides. If it was even on both sides, then you could do 3 and 1, and then reverse it, 1 and 3. So this is a simpler way to be able to start working in your teen tal. In your Rupak tal. One of the things that I like to do is have people work in Rupak tal playing slow and medium and fast, and then switching between that and switching between the Tishra's element of that, like so. Right, as 2 cycles. 1, 2, 3. Sum is, like my father said before, sum ko dekho, and finding your way around it. But like tin na din na din na 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 tin na din na din na. Tinna dinna dinna 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 tinna dinna tinna dinna dinna da tinna dinna dinna da tinna dinna dinna tin. Keeping that in mind, working your theka and in the 7 like that, it gives you not only the idea of how the barabar and the drut are going, but also the tishra, how it's working in between. So simple exercises like this are good to do, and so keep that going. So Chilla, as you heard, Rupak Tal, I wasn't expecting this, so I didn't prepare for it as well. But anyway, so. once you understand the way the rhythm cycle flows, the way the tempo sits right inside your body, then it's easier to be able to play any rhythm cycle. I mean, it's easier said than done, but the first step is to be able to try to make that rhythm cycle part of your natural body rhythm. When I'm playing teen tal, I usually have certain actions, or any tabla player does. You will find that at a particular matra, they do something which is different physically. So, dha din din na, dha din din na, dha din din na. The eyes will go up or something will happen. So, rhythmic graph or rhythmic map or grid is installed inside the body as well. So the body reacts, and you know how it is when you when you talk about a particular maestro and that maestro's composition, and you say this is from such and such maestro, your hand naturally goes up to your ear, and you say such and such Ustad or such and such Panditji. It's natural. So that kind of natural development inside your body of reacting to the pace and the tempo of the rhythm cycle at hand is something that you should do. We seem to think that tabla playing is mainly right here, and the information is here, and the emotions are here, and they all come together in here. But if the composition or the kaidas or the relas or raos or chans or anything, you name it, if it doesn't have a physical appearance, when you saw Ustad Allah Rakha, my father, he literally lived the composition. You saw him moving a certain way, and the way his face would go, it just physically got him to a point where he was one with what he was speaking through the instrument. And that is where you need to get to. That's where you need to arrive. So it's not easy, but it's not an impossibility. It is, you know, and with today's tools available to you, you can get there, okay? In the meantime, wash your hands, wear a mask, be safe, be careful. And now next Friday, I'm going to take a Friday off, if you don't mind. We've done 7 Fridays in a row, and I'd like to just sit back and maybe work on this idea of Rupak Tal that we just sort of put in the frying pan. And so next Friday we're going to take a holiday, and the Friday after that we'll be back here at the same bat channel and same bat time. And so take care of yourselves, and lots of love to all of you. And again, happy birthday, Bella, if you're watching. We love you. Ciao.